It is time for us to preview the Champions League round of 16 playoff. We're going to go game by game. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of an overview and, of course, my winner for every single matchup. And you guys will see that in some matches, I kind of went with more conventional wisdom, and in others, I sprinkled in a little spice. And that spice is exactly what I want to see from you guys down below in the comments. I want your hot take winner, your upset pick down below. Don't get down there and be like, oh, I have PSG winning. No. Soft. I need something better than that. Y'all also be sure to smash the like button. Let's go ahead and get into this. The first game we're going to talk about is Club Brugge versus my Atletico Madrid. Lord have mercy on my soul. I just wanted to get this one out of the way because it's the most painful and it's the one that makes me feel a little nauseous speaking about. Atletico Madrid are the most hot and cold club team in Europe. I will stand on that. We are Seesaw FC. Being a fan of this team is not for the faint of heart. Though I will say, if the trend continues of one masterclass followed up by a shambolic performance, we should destroy Club Brugge in the first leg away from home, which is obviously what I'm praying for. Now, my theory for Atleti is that Diego Simeone, he's given up on the league, he wants a trophy, and he's chasing the cups. By cups, I mean the Champions League and the Copa del Rey. Before the complete embarrassment away to Rayo, we were already 12 points back behind Barcelona. We're not catching them. It's been a minute since Simeone won something with Atleti, so I think he's just abandoned that theater. And I think the players know that as well, and so I expect the best version of Atleti to show up in those two competitions. A major concern for me in this game, though, is there's no Pablo Barrios, which basically adds +1 goal to whatever you had Club Brugge scoring previously. We're going to plug Koke, and we're going to plug Marcos Llorente there, but it's not the same. Club Brugge are a terrifying team to have to go up against. I feel like these guys are like the Ajax of, 2015, 2016? A team from a non-top 5 league that is fully capable of taking down giants. They already did this last year against Atalanta when they completely cut them up in the playoff round. And this team has the talent to score goals, and god damn it, Atleti's probably ripe to concede a few. My prediction here is that the addition of Ademola Lookman and how good he has looked so far with Atleti, plus the prioritization of the cups, will lead Atleti to get this one over the line. I think Brugge takes the first leg 2-1, but I think Atleti wins at home 3-1, meaning Atletico Madrid advance 4-3 on aggregate. But I'm not kidding, this could easily be a 4-4 and going on to penalties. And I don't think my heart can take another penalty shootout in back-to-back years of the playoff round, because we all know what happened last time. Next up, we have Juventus versus Galatasaray, a match that I was initially very excited for because it's kind of an interesting matchup. Italian club versus Turkish club. And then I realized that both of these teams are just kind of mid right now. And I also mean mid to watch. Like from an entertainment value, I don't think either of them are flying off my TV screen. I haven't really been impressed by Galatasaray this season. And I know they beat Liverpool. I'm going to be honest with y'all. This team, this Galatasaray squad, is talented enough to be able to pull off minimum one result such as that per campaign. I don't think just beating Liverpool and then kind of being average the rest of the time means this is a success, especially with all the recruitment, all the investment in the squad they've made in the past couple years. They have Victor Osimhen at striker, for God's sake. These guys should be taking down big teams pretty consistently. Yet instead, it seems like they're kind of still home merchants a little bit, as Turkish clubs tend to be. Even Union St. Gilwa beat them in Istanbul, though. The opportunity for Galatasaray is that the first leg is in Istanbul. Juventus have a bunch of injuries to the squad, and Juventus are also kind of mid right now. They're not a poor side. Neither of these teams are bad, but neither are walking into this playoff in peak form. I think Spalletti has improved Juve, but not to the point where there's some massive favorite in this game. My prediction for this one, I think Juve takes it by 1 goal on aggregate, and I'm thinking a low-scoring affair, y'all. I'm thinking like a 2-1 across both legs. Maybe this playoff will be a springboard for either team to kind of get it together towards the business end of the season, but I just haven't been impressed by either so far. Next up, we have AS Monaco versus PSG. Now, Monaco did defeat PSG in the league back in November, but outside of a little confidence boost, I'm not really sure how much that's going to help them in this match. If anything, it actually might be a negative because PSG are coming for revenge now. PSG are not having a great season. They're second in Ligue 1 currently, which is insanity considering how expensive that squad is and that they're defending Champions League champions. We've seen quotes from Dembele recently talking about how the players are playing for themselves, not for the team. And yeah, that's always the concern with PSG, isn't it? That being said, I simply cannot see Luis Enrique losing to a fellow Ligue 1 side across 2 legs in the Champions League. If this was a one-off game, sure, Monaco could do it. But 180 minutes of football, I don't see it, man. Monaco have conceded a lot of goals in a lot of games. And I'm talking about PSG struggling. Monaco aren't exactly sailing this year. PSG definitely have the talent to score several goals, like 3 or more in both legs. Now, that being said, I do like Monaco's attacking talent as well. I do think that they can score in this leg. I've liked Simone Adingra since he came over on loan. I think that was a great addition. But I'm going to go with a convincing PSG win here. I'm thinking either a 4-2 or a 5-2 on aggregate. Next up, we have Real Madrid versus Benfica. Now, this is a very common upset pick for the streets, and I asked you guys at the beginning of the video to drop your hot take down below, and I'm sure many of you did say Benfica. Real Madrid are scoring a ton of goals, but that defense is still a bit fragile. And it's not helped that Asensio got a straight red card in the last Champions League game, so he's going to be suspended. Militao is still injured, so it might be Tchouaméni at center back time yet again. Benfica started the Champions League in horrendous form, losing the first 4 games, but they've kind of recovered a little bit since. The way that I see their second half of the group phase, though, is that the Real Madrid victory, in which their goalkeeper scores the goal that sends them through to this round, I kind of think that's more one-off magic than it is a sign that Jose Mourinho's finally, solved the Rubik's Cube with this squad. Outside of that, I don't think they did anything impressive in the Champions League. Like, you don't get points for taking out Antonio Conte in this competition because he is a confirmed fraud when it comes to the Champions League. A huge storyline is, can Jose Mourinho stun his former club? He may be the special one and is definitely one of the greatest managers in club football history, but the Champions League for this man has not been great in recent times. The last time he was in a situation like this in this competition with Tottenham, they got bodied by RB Leipzig. The season before with Manchester United, he lost to Sevilla over 2 legs. Success in this environment for Jose has not happened in a while. And now he's supposed to take down Real Madrid. I now give it to you, internally troubled, a Real Madrid lacking identity with Benfica. I don't see it. I feel like so much of the Benfica's going to win is really just Barcelona fans who cannot be trusted whatsoever. My prediction here, as long as Arbeloa just gets out of the way and lets Real Madrid's talent do the talking, I actually think they're going to get it done. And no, it's not going to be pretty. No, it's not going to be convincing. No, I don't think they're going to win the Champions League this year. But guys, if you watch Real Madrid, if you actually watch La Liga, this is kind of who they've been for a while, where they kind of have an average performance, but because they have Kylian Mbappe, because they have Valverde, because they have Jude Bellingham, because they have Vinicius, they have moments of magic. They have so much individual brilliance that, shocker, it wins them games. And that's kind of what I think is going to happen here. I do think Benfica will get a 1-1 draw in the home leg, but then away at the Bernabeu, I think Real Madrid take it. So I either have a 4-2 or a 3-1 Real Madrid on aggregate. Next up, we have Qarabag versus Newcastle, and this is a true Cinderella story versus a Premier League giant. One of my favorite games from a storylines perspective. I'm not so sure from a talent perspective or from a spectacle perspective. I do expect the leg away in Qarabag to be quite close, but it's really more of a David versus Goliath thing going on here. Obviously, Newcastle are huge favorites, but there is a bit of weakness in the team that perhaps Qarabag could take advantage of, because those guys like to go out and ball, right? They're going to go out and try to do their thing. I do expect them to get goals in this leg, and Newcastle have conceded quite a few goals. I would say uncharacteristically of an Eddie Howe side in recent memory. I'm talking about 3 goals conceded at home against Leeds, 3 goals conceded against Bournemouth, 4 against Liverpool. They drew Wolves 0-0 in the Premier League. Like, they're not the most consistent side either. The storyline for this game is the financial might of the Premier League so great that it actually becomes impossible for these smaller teams to beat them. We've seen this a little bit in UEFA over the last couple seasons. I think we saw it when Tottenham beat Dortmund most recently, one of the best teams in the Bundesliga, losing to a relegation battling Premier League side. As a footy hipster, I'm praying that my hypothesis is incorrect, because if it's true, then we're actually talking about the stakes and the drama of UEFA competitions potentially dying. And I know that sounds very dystopian, because it is, but it's also a fact. If we keep getting all Premier League semifinals and finals at every single level of the UEFA ladder, that's not a good thing. Yeah, Real Madrid might have pulled out of the Super League, but it's here, y'all. Even Qarabag winning this one wouldn't necessarily delay that. It might just be a matter of time, which is one of my biggest fears for football, is that the Champions League and the Europa League turns into the FA Cup, essentially. Let me get off my doomsday soapbox. For this fixture, I do think Qarabag is going to win the home leg 2-1, but then I think they get beat pretty bad away at Newcastle, either a 3-1 or a 4-1. So I'm thinking Newcastle wins it, 5-3 on aggregate? 5-3, 4-2, something along those lines. Next, we have Olympiakos versus Leverkusen, and dare I say, this is the most underrated matchup in the playoff round. I think this matchup is fantastic. I would say Leverkusen are slight favorites. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments. Their talent is pretty nice, especially in the attack. Poku, Massa, and Schick. That's a pretty nice triangle of doom up top. They haven't lost in 6 games, and their last loss was, ironically, to this very same Greek side, Olympiakos, 2-0 in the last Champions League game. Leverkusen are not the same invincible side, the title-winning side under Alonso, but I think Kasper Hjulmand is a good manager, and I think he's done a pretty good job maneuvering with this team post Alonso, post expectations, and post a massive fire sale of most of their best players. For Olympiakos, I actually think the biggest bull argument for them advancing here is Jose Mendilibar, the manager. Mendilibar is a 2-time UEFA Cup winning champion, once with Sevilla and once with Olympiakos in the Europa League and the Conference League, and I really do rate him as a manager. I also lived in Greece for a year, and Olympiakos was the club I supported, so they're very near and dear to my heart. But even I must put my bias aside and fully admit that Leverkusen are the more talented team here. And even in that Champions League victory, Solakis had an amazing game, and Olympiakos were a bit fortunate. I'm not sure if lightning is going to strike twice here. The first game is back in Piraeus. Olympiakos must win, or it is over for me. Ultimately, I think Leverkusen will win 3-2 on aggregate. A very exciting, very close fixture where both sides, at least in the attacking half, have a lot of quality. If Olympiakos win this, though, then Mendilibar deserves way more respect. That's going to be one of my biggest takeaways. Next up here, we have Bodø Glimt versus Inter. The footy hipsters love this one. Here's the key for me. That first leg in Bodø, they have to win, and I'm going to be a little bit offensive here and say they probably need to win by 3 goals, which is going to be tough because only 3 teams have been able to do that against Inter this season: Arsenal, Napoli, and Juventus. What is leaving me scratching my head in this prediction when I was putting it together is I don't know how Bodø is going to perform given that their season hasn't started yet. They haven't played a game in 3 weeks. That's a lot of time. Of course, if you support Bodø, you'll say, oh, they're fresh and they're able to watch Inter and tactically they're going to be ready to go. If you don't like Bodø, then you'll say, yeah, they're going to come out and look sluggish. As somebody who participates in sports myself, I will say having to play an intense game after a lot of time off is not a good thing. And this is too much time in my opinion. Plus, Inter are coming in here on good form. Will Inter disrespect Bodø? Well, they are Italian, and if you know anything about the Italian ego, it's very possible, and that would ultimately be their downfall. It's for some reason they don't rate Bodø despite what they've done the past 2 seasons, despite what they did this season beating Atleti and Manchester City, and they say by virtue of being from Milan, we have a God-given right to advance. If that happens, I think Bodø will smack them in the mouth. And what a story that would be. Inter getting embarrassed in the Champions League final and then losing to Bodø in the playoff. Gosh, what does that do to the Inzaghi narrative as well? Are we going to get apologies for this man? I don't know. I do want Bodø to win just for the chaos, for the storylines. Don't get me wrong, but I think Inter are too strong. And I say they take it by 2 goals on aggregate. Last game here is Dortmund versus Atalanta. Dortmund haven't been bad this season. They only have 5 losses in their last 30 games, which is quite the catalog. 2 of those coming in the Champions League against Spurs and Inter. And as an attacking unit under Kovac, I think they've been pretty good. The goals have tended to be there throughout the year, and they're going to need goals to be successful against Atalanta. Atalanta in Serie A at least have some great wins recently. They beat Juve, they beat Lazio, they beat Roma. I think one of those was in the cup, but whatever. In the Champions League, they lost to Union Saint-Gilloise and Athletic Club, which are 2 pretty freaking bad losses. So how you feel about this depends on how you feel about overall form or just a team's form in a specific competition. If you rate a team's form in a competition specifically, you should be very concerned for Atalanta. And in which case, I would say you have a somewhat comfortable Dortmund progression here, which isn't a dumb pick because I think from a goal-scoring output perspective, from a difference-maker perspective, Dortmund are the superior team, especially with the departure of Ademola Lookman. I do think Atalanta have some freaking dogs. Ederson's one of my favorite midfielders. I don't think he gets nearly enough credit, but this is a big ask for them. This is one of the most difficult predictions in my opinion. I feel like I've been a little safe with most of these others, so I'm actually going to say Atalanta take this one 3-2 on aggregate. I like Palladino. I like the job that he's done, maybe getting Lookman away and kind of making the team a purely like unit, cohesive squad, no star powers, no egos. Maybe that's going to be enough to take down a Dortmund side that always seems to get a little bit nervous when the pressure gets put on them. And those are my predictions, guys. Those are who I have advancing to the round of 16. You let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you smash the like button and hit subscribe as well for future videos. I cannot wait to check back in when Club Brugge beats Atleti 5-1 on aggregate, and everybody is clowning me down below in the comments. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.